So hello everyone, this is Learn with Philology. I am Himanshi and we have Arjit Bansal who has really aced the CLAT UG examination recently and has a score of and has such a score that he aced it to a level that he got the All India rank 7. And today we are basically talking about his journey, that how his CLAT journey was, and this is going to be his story telling us कि किस तरीके से क्या secrets have actually worked for him, so that all of us here, listeners, viewers can really help from it, right? So yes, Arjit, tell us about how your journey has been and how do you feel about this top 10 key category mein aana? How does it really feel to you?
Good evening, ma'am. Thank you so much for having me. So, a lot of people had been asking me this question about how does it feel right when the results were announced. At that time, I was not sure exactly how to feel about it. There were a lot of thoughts in my head. But right now, I can say with confidence and certainty that it really feels good. Especially because before this, I had a string of failures in NEET, which I gave 3 times, and after that, I had gotten very underconfident. But now that I've done well in CLAT UG, now it feels good again, and I think I'm confident in myself once more.
You say that you attempted for NEET examination, right? So this sounds to me that of course you have had different streams, and which is not law background, your commerce background for that matter. So you have switched your places. Tell us about this particular switch, because that is very different from what I have heard. कोई भी बच्चे जो होते हैं यूजुअली अगर उसने साइंस पकड़ा है तो वो साइंस पहले कंप्लीट करते हैं, तो दिस इज अ कंप्लीटली डिफरेंट थिंग फॉर मी. प्लीज थ्रो सम लाइट ऑन दिस.
So, ma'am, basically in 11th and 12th, I wanted to pursue science because those were my subjects of interest at that time. And once you take science, I had taken PCB. And once you take science, the only option which seems valid to you, especially in our country even today, is either he'll do engineering or he'll do medical. And since I had bio with me, I thought I'd be doing medical. And I was always good in studies, so everyone thought that I'd be able to clear it. But then in my first attempt, it was the lockdown. The lockdown happened in my first attempt, and it did not go well. And after in my other 2 attempts, I kept on missing the government college cutoff by a couple of marks each time. So in my first attempt, it was really bad. In my second attempt, people thought just one more attempt and I'll be able to clear it. But in my third attempt, I got 7 marks less than my previous attempt. So I sat down with my family and I was really underconfident. My family was worried about me, especially my brother and my mother. And we thought that what do we need to do right now? So at this point, I had basically given up. I thought that I'd settle for anything right now. I'll do any course and then I'll figure out my life later. But my mother and my brother wanted me to do something exceptional or at least live up to my potential. So I gave CUET, which went well, and I thought I'll maybe do some BA and then decide what I want to do. But my brother said that you can do something more in your life. So he had already cleared CLAT, and he is in his last year at RML NLU, Lucknow. So he told me that you should appear for CLAT. This is something which you can clear. I know you can do it. And at this point, I had given my life to both of them. I said, whatever you say, I'll do it. Because clearly my decision did not work out. And on his advice, I started preparing for CLAT. I joined Legal Edge, which was a coaching which helped me a lot in my journey. And then, with my brother's guidance and my family's and friends' support and the coaching, of course, in 6 months, I was able to prepare for CLAT and it went well.
So I believe I just said that कि अगर we are choosing a stream, that means I have to go forth with that stream. So to have that kind of confidence in yourself, or even maybe आप अपना trust शायद बाहर रख रहे हो, even that is a great deal for me. If I want to switch your career, that also is a big deal. So you have kind of learned a lesson really early in your life. And I have actually gone through your profile. So I've seen it's not just a neat CLAT that you're doing. He's been doing a lot of hobby persuasion as well. So so he kind of plays and sings as well. So these are some personality traits कि you're not supposed to just stick to one thing. आप थोड़ा diverse living करके भी बड़ी चीजें कर सकते हैं. It's not कि आप हमेशा कमरा बंद करके ही पढ़ाई करें. We can take inspiration from Arjit for that matter, right? All right. So I also wanted to ask you how your CLAT journey was, given that you said कि आपने 6 महीने के अंदर prepare किया है. What are the things that you made sure? See, I believe अगर आप 6 महीने में यह कर रहे हो, मतलब आप you have definitely focused on some must do's that you cannot really miss out on, some foundationally important things. Throw some lights on that aspect of it, because a lot of students actually start 6 महीना पहले. So let's just give them that strategy. What has worked for you?
So, ma'am, the moment I started my preparation, the first thing which I started doing was reading newspapers daily. So it might be overkill, but I read the Hindu and the Indian Express, both of the newspapers daily, and made notes out of them. So, like, normally people suggest either read one of them or something, but I was reading both of them daily, which my brother had sort of advised me to do because he said that this paper is very reading heavy. So if I'm able to get my reading speed and comprehension skills in order, then that's half the battle won. And after that, the other thing was the basics and concepts are really important. There are very limited concepts in logical reasoning and English. After that, it's all a matter of practice. So for my basics, I went to coaching regularly and they got my concepts cleared out really well. So therefore, I had my basics down, and now I was only worried about GK, which I was reading daily from classes, from coaching, and from newspapers. I was making notes daily. So I guess, especially when it comes to English, logical reasoning, legal reasoning, these three subjects are very reading and practice intensive. So I guess you can get done with the concepts in a month or maximum 2 months. After that, it's only practice. So
Right.
therefore, completing it in 6 months was not much of a problem. But GK, I was worried about because I was worried that people have been studying for this for years, like 1 or 2 years. I'm competing with those people. So it did happen that I thought I do not have a single minute to waste. So even I was talking to anybody, I had my CLAT post or my newspaper in my hand, and I was constantly reading and revising because it happens that you think जीके में एक भी सवाल ऐसा आ गया जो गलती से देखा हुआ था एंड उस टाइम स्ट्राइक कर गया then you're going to gain marks. So what happened was I had very close and supportive people in my life, and I'm a social person. So I had told everybody that I won't be able to interact a lot with you in these few months. And they were very supportive that they'd be waiting and they trusted in me that I'd be able to do well this time, even though I did not believe in myself because I clearly had not been doing that well. But they believed in me and always supported me whenever I needed them.
That's great. Actually, having a good environment and having supportive friends and family, that is basically an add-on. And given that it was not the first time that you're doing it, it was not a first generation thing for you, so you had a mentor as well. So that also kind of worked for you. So, given कि आपने इतनी मेहनत की थी, not just in general knowledge, I think other चीजों में भी, what was your reaction to the paper when you came out? कि, now that the question that we saw in general knowledge was mostly passage based, what do you think was your reaction, and what do you think people who might appear for the next year's examination, how should their approach be? Because we don't really know what kind of things we can expect. Yeah.
So, ma'am, before the exam, CLAT 2023 had really difficult GK. Everyone was talking about that. So this year, everyone was preparing GK very thoroughly. Of course, I had prepared GK very well as well, but I was still worried about it because I knew that people have been preparing it for longer. So before going to the exam, I had told my brother, and my brother had told me as well, that if the GK comes easy or if it comes really difficult, then you're going to go do really well. Otherwise, it might, because then everybody might be answering the questions. So thankfully, or maybe regretfully for some people, the GK came relatively easy because it was passage based. So one habit which I had while solving all my mocks was that I always used to read the passages in GK because I had developed a good reading speed at this point. So I had extra time to go through the passages. And the moment I went through the passages, I realized that I'm finding a lot of the answers over here, which helped me a lot in this year's GK. But the problem with CLAT is that you never know what is going to come next year. Maybe next year they'll default back to the 2023 pattern. So we can never like start taking it for granted that maybe next year also it will be reading based GK. And even this time they had about 6 to 7 questions which were pure GK based, in which you had to know the facts. So therefore, to everyone, I'd still advise that do not start reading GK or stop reading GK because you feel that it is going to be passage based. Instead, we need to continue being thorough with our GK as per the 2023 pattern. And just we need to add on one thing, that we need to start reading
As-
reading the passages in GK as well.
right, right. Yeah, exactly. We can't really expect what can come next, so we have to be ready for that surprise element. We don't really know कि क्या हो सकता है. Now, I believe कि जो आपकी preparation strategy थी, we know there are 5 sections. So one of your weakness was the general knowledge, and a lot of students also face problems in quantitative aptitude, or some might face it in reading comprehension wala areas. So when we have this approach of going forth with the strength area या फिर weakening area, अगर हमारे पास आखिरी के 6 महीने बचे हैं, what should one really focus on? Should they actually just start working on more the strength वाला area कि नहीं, चलो मेरा reading अच्छा है तो I should focus more on that, या फिर अगर मेरा quant weak है तो चलो let's focus on quantitative part? What should be the approach of a student?
So, ma'am, when you say the last 6 months, for me, it's like I prepared in 6 months. So
Okay.
it sounds like a lot of time, that you have a lot of time. So,
Let's take a
but
year thing as well
hmm,
in mind.
yes, but the thing is that this paper, instead of asking for a lot of consistent hours of studying, what is required is consistency. So what needs to be done is, if you're reading every day, say the newspaper, if you're reading the newspaper every day, your reading speed and comprehension skills are automatically improving. So by doing that, English, logical reasoning, legal, and GK, all four of these sections are already being catered to. What you need to do is give at least 1 hour per day to maths every day for 6 months, or however many months you have left. Because the thing is that a lot of students are afraid of maths, especially the students who did not take maths in 11th and 12th. They're afraid of maths because can be scary at times. But what we need to realize is that in CLAT, the maths is not difficult. We get very standard topics which we have covered till 10th, and instead of neglecting maths, we should make sure that we get those 12 marks or at least 8 marks in maths. Because if we prepare and practice for even 1 hour per day, it's very easy to cover all of it.
Hmm.
So for maths, I'd say just practice 1 hour per day. And instead of focusing on your strengths, it's like you just have to divide it in a ratio, right? Give a little less time to the things you are strong in, but do not neglect them entirely, because it's a practice based paper. So if you stop preparing it, then you're going to lose your skills. So give some time to the sections you're strong in, and then give more time to the sections you are weaker in.
Basically we're looking at a balance here कि दोनों चीजें नहीं छोड़ना, strength है तो उस पे काम करते रहो, but meanwhile start also working in your weak areas ताकि you can gain some marks from that particular section, because we know कि CLAT में sectional cut off कुछ है नहीं, तो वहां से
Yes.
आपको help मिलती है, because CLAT doesn't know कि आपने English में ज्यादा score किया है या GK में, they just know your overall score. Yes, exactly that. Also, how about we talk a little about the mock preparation as well, mock strategy, because mocks, appearing for the mocks and then analyzing them is again a task for all the students. How should one approach, how should one have the approach towards mock in general?
Yes, ma'am. So basically, in this exam, again, it's a very practice based exam. So mocks are the most important thing which you can do. But the problem with mocks is, a lot of people give mocks for the sake of giving mocks. They see their marks, they see their ranks, and then they leave it at that. But what you really need to be doing is that in each and every mock, you need to analyze it, because whenever you're solving a passage based question, one answer clicks to you, and then you mark it. And if you get it wrong, in your head, you still justified that answer when you were solving it. So you need to understand why what you did was wrong, and why what the answer key is what is saying is correct. Because in this paper, you need to develop a certain way of thinking which the examiner expects from you.
Yes.
After every mock, I used to analyze my paper. In my coaching, we had this book called Mac, in which we used to write down all our marks and every learning outcomes which we got from it, and then we take it to our mentors. So I'd always take my mocks to my teachers, and I'd sit with them and I'd fight with them and argue with them until I could realize that why what I am saying is wrong and why what the answer key is saying is correct. Because once you're able to get that, then you can tap into the examiner's mind, and then you won't be making the same mistakes over and over again.
So analyzing in depth is again equally important. So we have been having discussion with other students as well, and definitely analyzing the mock is something जो align करता है बाकी toppers के साथ भी, and they have really worked on this one. Not just appearing for those mocks, which is the quantity that I'm talking, but also the kind of quality and what kind of analysis you're doing around that particular mock is equally important. भले आप 10-20 mocks de do, but then analyze them well, thoroughly. That is very important, right?
Yes, ma'am, because I'd never, for CLAT, I'd never recommend giving a mock every day, especially because it is a very reading heavy paper, so you'd exhaust yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So ideally, in the initial stages, one mock is enough per week, and then you can make it two. And by the end, not more than three, four. Even in the last month, you should not be giving more than 3 or 4 mocks per week, because otherwise you'd be exhausting yourself and you won't be able to analyze it properly.
Yes, that's actually true. Also, how about like given that you've been doing it for the last 6 months, only like 6 months में आपने prepare किया है, I would also want to know that what was the significance of the coaching examination, coaching centers in your preparation? Like how much of a role did that play? Do we really need these coaching centers or just YouTube channels or just some must know books would we can rely on, or shall everyone look for a mentor, be it a teacher or someone like you have? What should be the go-to thing for us, for those who are preparing it for the first time or second time or whatever? But what can we really look at?
So, ma'am, I think obviously this thing is something which is unique to everybody. Everybody has different ways of learning. I know some people who did well because they indulged in group studies, and I know some people who did well through YouTube videos.
Mm-hmm.
For me, coaching really helped me because it helped me make a routine. Every day, because I could get lazy and demotivated or depressed sitting at my home. So instead of, because I'd already been preparing for NEET, the last attempt I gave it from home only. I did not go to any coaching, which really messed with my mental situation. So therefore, I joined coaching and I used to go there every day, regardless of what the situation may be. And even on some days, like when the exam was really close, nobody was coming to the coaching. Even on those days, I'd sit alone with the teachers, and the teacher was still, they would still take classes. They would never cancel classes, and they helped me polish my basics, and they always supported me and told me where I'm going wrong and what I should do. So I think for me the coaching really helped me because it showed me a path which I need to follow, and it kept me consistent and accountable. So that kind of routine was very important for me, especially as a dropper,
Mm-hmm.
because if you're going to school regularly, then you already have a routine, then that's a different situation. But especially for droppers, I think some kind of routine or going somewhere is important to keep you accountable and to keep you in check, because it's really easy to fall back into a pattern of waking up really late and not studying or procrastinating a lot.
That's actually right. It can be a personal thing as well, but to have consistency, either by going to the coaching centers or by just having a schedule, maybe. But consistency is actually the key that we're looking at here. Right.
Yes, ma'am.
1 month पहले एग्जाम के 1 महीने पहले एवरीवन काइंड ऑफ पैनिक्स कि मुझे कितने मॉक्स करने चाहिए, मुझे कौन से सब्जेक्ट पे फोकस करना चाहिए, व्हाट काइंड ऑफ अप्रोच शुड वन हैव, बिकॉज इट इज मोस्टली अ पैनिकी सिचुएशन एंड अ लॉट ऑफ स्टूडेंट्स हैव अ लॉट टू कवर एज वेल. So what should there be must do things before the 1 month, like before 1 month of the exam?
So, ma'am, one thing, of course, I'd suggest is that do not leave all the studies for the last 1 month, because when I was preparing in the last 1 month, I was very relaxed because I had been studying consistently and I had started getting good ranks in my mocks and scoring well in my exams. But then again, the last 1 month is very important because I know a lot of my friends who performed amazingly in CLAT, and they were not studying that well or not preparing that seriously until the last month, where they really picked it up and then they scored amazingly. So in the last month, instead of panicking, what you need to realize is that even if there is less time, you still have time. And at that moment, instead of like just panicking and going through all the classes again, you need to realize what the important sections are, what the important points are. And again, the important points falls back to having a good reading speed, which I'm sure if you've been preparing for this long, that is one thing that you might have worked on. After that, the concepts are very limited in reasoning and English. So after that, just need to strengthen your concepts. And then if it's less time left, then instead of just going through everything again, now you can just skip 2 mocks. Some people in the early stages, I'd say, do not give that many mocks. But if you haven't prepared that well and you need to practice more, then I'd say start giving mocks, like 3 or 4 mocks per week, and analyze them thoroughly and seize the mocks as practice sheets as well. Because mocks may, you'd see all the patterns of questions which are coming, and if you're able to slowly grasp the concepts and solve them, then that is definitely going to help. But panicking never helps, so you need to have a belief in yourself and your preparation. Like a lot of people have been preparing well and then they start panicking in the last month कि भाई आसपास वाले एकदम से बहुत ज्यादा पढ़ने लग गए तो अब मेरे को भी कुछ करना पड़ेगा. But you need to realize that you have been studying, and even if you've just been taking your classes or just been studying a little bit every day, that still counts and that still adds on to your knowledge and your practice. So instead of panicking, we need to keep our calm and still keep on getting proper sleep, because especially in this exam you need to have a fresh mind because it's comprehension based, and if
Yes,
that day you are exhausted then you're going to screw the paper up.
to have a good mind उधर उस दिन में एग्जाम के उस 120 मिनट्स में इज इक्वली इंपॉर्टेंट. लाइक आप एक साल से पढ़ाई कर रहे हो बट देन इफ यू नॉट slept well the previous day or for a month or a week, then of course your mind is going to be exhausted. So yes, it's important, and I think the key could be revise karna, to believe in yourself, take a step every day. Eventually you'll have heights that you reach, and keep practicing the mocks at the end. That would be the key. Great.
One thing which happened to me was that just before the exam we had a Diwali break, and like just a week, and just before Diwali my scores had started dipping once more because I was studying for a lot and my brain had basically stopped working. So at that time my brother and my mentor suggested me that I should take a break, I need to take some rest because my mind has stopped working and I'm not scoring well. So at that time, I had people in my life who I could turn to, and I relaxed and I spent time with them. And they helped me relax, and they told me that they have belief in me and they know that I've been preparing well and working hard. So I deserve some time off. And then after doing that, just after the Diwali break, I was so fired up and I was feeling so good about myself that after that my score just skyrocketed, and it went higher than ever before in mocks. So basically, a lot of times, especially in the last month, people start saying that do not talk to your close ones, do not spend time with your friends, it's all a waste of time. But you need to realize that taking a rest and keeping your mind healthy is also very important. And I was neglecting that for a bit, but the people in my life helped me a lot.
There are a lot of people who can see from the outside, like कि यार ये आप गलत कर रहे हो, please try and do this, and they're there to help. Absolutely, to have a relaxed mind is equally important, as we have been establishing. बहुत जरूरी होता है. तो you can be doing stuff that you actually like, go for a trip or maybe spend time, watch a movie. And ये जरूरी नहीं कि आप बहुत ज्यादा exhaust होने के बाद करो, बीच बीच में भी करना चाहिए कि go ahead and watch that movie and do some stuff, do wood painting करो, guitar bajao, yeah, whatever you can do something that you like, so that relaxes you, right? I believe वो भी आपके लिए काफी काम किया होगा. To have an instrument or to play or do that also relaxes you, kind of takes you in another dimension and helps definitely. All right, so let's wrap this up. I would just wrap it up by asking you some few mantras or few advices, something that is a must do for even a person who is starting for the first time, someone who is attempting for the second time, someone who has just 6 months left or just 1 month left. But these are like the must do's जो आप करो ही, इसको देखो ही इस नजर से, given from your perspective, of course, that these are the must do's, some mantras that you can follow.
Ma'am, I believe in this examination, consistency is key. I mean, everybody says that, but still consistency is key. So reading newspaper daily is a must. Even if you think that maybe you're watching videos or maybe you're going to coaching and वहाँ पे GK cover हो रही है. But newspaper does not just give you GK, it prepares you for the entire examination really well. So reading newspaper daily is a must. Solving maths numericals every day for some time is a must. And finally, believing in yourself is really important. Because if you read the passage and you panic at the last moment कि मेरे को कुछ समझ नहीं आ रहा, that is going to mess it up. Because sometimes even when you read the passage and you're not able to understand it, you move to the questions and you realize that ये तो easy थे. I could have solved it, but I panicked because I saw the passage. So believing in yourself is really important as well.
Great. So, with the vibrant personality of Arjit that we have, he has had a dynamic history coming from NEET, doing law, and also practicing other artistic stuff. I think he has had a wonderful life ahead. And I really wish you well for your coming college experiences as well, that you learn and grow as much as you can and thrive. And, we hope that we can have a word even later. And I really thank you for having this conversation. And I really, really wish you good luck, Ajit.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was great talking to you.